525 PT5S. You can see my crack is right here. Let's do it. Off to the side. There we go, huh? So that screw is the holding screw that goes right here. Oh, look. Cap comes off. Found another screw right here. That's probably the last one holding the tank on. This is on the same side as all the other screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Oh. It just pushes on. Okay. So it's got a pusher right there, a popper that just pushes in. Goes right in this hole. I trapped the nut down at the bottom inside the vise here. Now let's see, come on, focus. And then I used a punch. I used this punch right here as a driver to turn the sprocket, and you can see that the sprocket is now able to turn, and it's gradually unscrewing off. Okay. So let's see, so now this thing comes off, and it looks like there's a brass plate there, a sort of a bushing, washer, and then the bushing is held in place. The washer is also held in place. Oh yeah, the bushing is free to spin on this here, but the washers are solid with the nut. And then you have your drive sprocket, and then you have your additional very worn down bushing. Maybe it's like a spring bushing, I can't really tell. I think maybe it is a spring. Okay, so inside that was the bearing. So I drove this is the sprocket side right here, and I drove it from this opposite side with a brass punch. So this was seated in here with the bearing, you know, flush with this surface right here. So I just drove it from this side here on the bench with a brass punch, and it came out. You can see that the gear is a separate component from the bearing. It should be possible to press that other bearing out just with a socket or a punch. We'll just have to make sure these things are all nice and clean when we put them back in. So that is your sprocket drive assembly. Pretty cool. So the snap ring goes right there, which again is not a snap ring. It's like a retaining ring. See the gear right there? I have to... There we go. So there's our plastic. It's got a little tab right here that holds it in place. And then our rubber, you can see, just follows this channel around, so it basically, yep, so it'll come in from this side, and I'm just going to pull that out. So now at this point we just need to get that bearing out right, oh, sorry about this, yeah, that bearing right there, and then this bearing and the shaft and everything should come out together. If not, maybe I'll cut the case and then I'll get it out that way. So this is the oil spout right here. This is your adjuster. Oh look, once you get to a certain point it comes out without actually being unscrewed all the way. See? Okay. I need this gear to go, you know, down out of this shaft, this hole right here. It's got to come towards up. And that little retaining ring should be fine. I should be able to get that retaining ring, let retaining ring on, because that just holds the bearing in place. I sort of I put a brass punch in like through this hole, which I think, let's see, come on, focus. The way to do this would be to drill a hole up here. Since this is a scrap piece, drill a hole and then drive it out. Maybe I'll just, I actually broke off some of this material. There's a slot right there, so for tightening this on the shaft, so what I did is just sort of stuck a screwdriver in there and snapped it. And you can see this has been driven down because the gear is no longer visible through this hole, or barely. I think drilling a hole is the best option. So here is the gear set, or the next gear. This might be considered a pinion gear, but it's got, yeah, you don't need to take those, that snap ring off right there. So that can stay on. So this thing, what I ended up doing was, the easiest way to drive that this direction was just to drill a hole here and then just use a brass punch to hit that gear right there on the top, and it came right. You can see I broke this more, but you know, everything is out of there now, so it's basically just bearings and snap rings, and you really only have to take out these two snap rings that I was showing you before. These are the two snap rings that matter. Let's see, focus, there we go. And these are tricky to get out, but I was able to get this one out with just a couple of picks. So I didn't have the proper pliers for it, but it did partly damage it, so I'll have to be gentle going back in with it. But these are probably easier to put in than taking out. This one here, I'm a little doubtful as to what to do with that one because it's going to be quite hard to bend it back into place. I'll figure out a way. Okay, so at this point I just took that bearing, the last part that came out, which was this one, okay, I just put that in there and I drove it in using a brass punch. I had to make sure that the brass punch was along the outside of this hole, so I went like to that side and to that side, because where you strike the bearing when you're driving it in there is, you know, on the outside area right here, okay? So you don't want to strike it on the inner area, on the inner race, because it will cause the bearing to be damaged. So you go for the outer race and you make sure that you're on that, and then I use brass because I have it and it's better. I'm using Vaseline to make everything slippery when it goes on, and it comes off clean when it's operating. So this is my other gear, so you can see that. Let's see if I can show you. So the gear is visible, or it's not all the way in yet, but it's visible. So I want the other gear to be in there with it. So this one goes that way, like that. It's kind of a loose fit, so it slips out of the bearing, but that is where that goes. So this is now able to have the nut and the sprocket and all installed on it. But this will need another bearing, but before I do that I want to drive this in all the way so that those two gears mesh, and then you can turn them and then there's no stress on those bearings. That's great. Okay, so now I have this bearing. This needs to go on. I have verified when I spin this shaft that it is spinning the inner race of this bearing, which means that it is starting to mate. And now I just need to tap this with some brass and get it to go in. So we had to pull this out because this one was in too deep and there was like a space. Basically the gears were too tight from driving this one in. We couldn't get the clip in, and then we drove it in farther to get the clip in and we went too far somehow. So we had to compensate a little bit. So now I'm just going to get this bearing on here. We need to go in with the brass. We need to go all the way in with it. I need to get this bendy ring right here back on. Okay. So what happened here was that that little spring clip is not a spring clip. So it's like, you saw how it was deformed. So when I was trying to put it on here, it was just coming off. So I took these pliers and I just sort of made it like a little bit smaller than the hole here. And then once I expanded it very gently, just enough to get it on, and then I put it down in there. And now it's holding, and what I'm doing is just spinning this shaft to make sure it's easy to turn, and you can look and see that the gears are meshing and that internal is moving. Okay, so the orange thing snaps on here like such, and then I'm assuming that is a spot for the fuel tank right there. So now I can put my sprocket and so forth on. Big washer. This part has coverage. This sprocket goes over top of that, but it actually goes on here. And when the screw turns, let's just make sure the screw is clean. Come on, it's actually a nut, but it's got the flats on it right here for the purposes of drive. So this thing goes through these two washers. Here's an important note for you, because I kept mine in order. These two washers are shaped like cymbals too, and the wide faces go towards each other, so together they're like a spring. So they protrude, the middle parts. I'm trying to demonstrate this to you. I don't know if it's possible to see, but basically the cupped faces go towards each other, and that creates like a spring pressure. Nut into the bench, and then I'm going to turn the sprocket, which has the two flats on it, that's going to turn the actual drive mechanism, and I'll turn the drive mechanism into this nut. So there's my oil output right there. So this little guy is going to go through that. It's a tight squeeze, but you jam it through. And it goes in there just so. But let me just pop my plastic back. So the plastic does kind of struggle to go in there. Maybe. There we go. And then pop. Come on, pop. There we go. It popped. Oh, you know what? It's cupped. So I think it goes inside this valley. Yeah, so there's like a cupped valley right where my finger is, or like right under my finger there. It goes on the inside, like past that in the gap. So yep, so you can see it from, let's see, work dummy. You can see it from this side right here. Okay, so it's right there. So that piece prevents this, like it's got like a spot on here that's got no threads, and that's where that piece goes on the thread. And then when you install this head sits down inside of like a little shoulder area right there, so that's how you know you're in the right spot. So this piece seems to go there. Yeah, this piece moves inside that channel. So yeah, just like that. And then it mates together, and then this goes over the plastic. Alright, so inside of this right here you have a hard shoulder up at the top that's preventing this flat. So you just put this, you basically locate this cutout section right here on the plastic to the cutout section, or the obtruding section right there, like this. Slide, it should go in. Yup, so now it goes in. It has to go on first, so that goes in the back side here. Oh yeah, so these saws do come with a chunky Allen, and that is one of the critical tools that you need. Do not lose them, so I keep this in my Husqvarna bin. Ready to install this to the fuel tank, or the oil tank there. Okay, so in your bolt collection from this project, you will have one bolt that is skinnier than all the rest. It is slightly long, and that is the bolt that goes into this oiler adjuster, okay? Make sure your threads are clean. Alright, and then, so screws that go into plastic fall in this category right here. They have coarser threads, they have a different slope on them. I don't know how to describe it, but there's 4 like bolts here, and I'm assuming these are all going into plastic. So there's one that goes into plastic there. It goes through metal into plastic. Here's one that goes through metal into plastic right here. Here's one here. See, they screw into the oil tank. See? The last one, I believe, is going to be this guy. Alright, and that is the one that holds the main pole. Oh, sorry. Yeah, these are both retainers. So this one is a short screw. It's kind of a set screw. So it comes in from the side here. This is your one like small machine screw, I think. It goes in from the side, the short I should say. And it goes in through the side there. And it goes into a special hole. That's where it goes. So now, should just be able to slide this Johnny on there. Yup, and then tighten this guy, which should keep it from coming out. Almost forgot my little silver cap. It goes right here. That is how you do it. I wish you all the best of luck, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I need all the likes that I can get, and the subscriptions will help me to actually start doing better videos. So if you guys could do that for me, that would be awesome. Thanks. Have a great day.